Please don't need the end button. I'm upgrading. Don't admit anyone. Okay. Maybe you can help me after we start the session. But I'm sure there's a button for admit all. Hi, Paula. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine too.
Good, good, good. You
Yeah.
can hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent.
So we are waiting for Danny to join.
Yeah, he'll be on any second. We just spoke.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, it's going to be a busy afternoon, I think.
Yes. Where are you based?
I'm in the UK, near
Oh.
about an hour north of London.
Nice. I'm in Kenya. It's evening
Kenya.
now. It's almost evening. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Nice to see you.
Yes, you too.
Oh, Danny is here.
Okay.
Hi, Danny.
I think he's on mute.
Hi, Danny. You're on mute. Please unmute.
Yeah, it takes a minute to, there we go.
Hey.
Hi, Danny.
How are you, Charlene? Good to meet you.
I'm fine, and you? Good to meet you too.
Sorry, I'm a minute late there. I was just took a quick walk and back now.
No worries.
How's the conference going for you? All good?
Yeah, we are almost done.
Yeah.
Save
the best to last.
Yeah, it's only one session remaining for tomorrow.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
very good.
Yes.
So
I'm here. Yes, I'm here joined by my colleague Vivian.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, Danny. Hi, Paula.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
Good, thank you. Good to meet you.
So we have the participants on the waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
So at the top of the hour, I will just admit all of them.
Okay.
And then you guys can start. So just some housekeeping rules. It's a meeting, so I think all the participants will be able to unmute and mute. Don't know if that will be a bit conflicting.
I'll probably just ask them to ask their questions in the chat bar and work through them, because I saw there was 280 something people registered, which I know most of them, well, not, they won't all turn up, but just in case they do, it's
And maybe Danny asked them to mute as well. Yeah,
maybe I'll ask people to mute and ask their questions in the chat, if that's okay. I've prepared a few slides which I'll probably show, which should only take 5 or 10 minutes, but I think that'll answer a few questions already, and then I'm sure there'll be plenty more questions.
Yes, so I've given you the permission to share your screen. Maybe you can try sharing it just for testing.
Yep. Are working okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah, but then during the presentation, if you can just turn on your presentation mode.
Yep, I can do.
Yeah.
1 second. Yep, no, I can do that. Will I try that now just to test it, or it probably works?
Yeah, no harm.
1 second, yeah. Okay. share screen. And then this always takes a minute to transition.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's okay?
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay.
Great.
So I'm going to upgrade both of you to co-hosts.
Okay.
Just take a note, please don't click on the end button.
Okay, we'll be in trouble if you do that.
Yeah, we'll be in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yes. So let me, yes, upgraded.
15
Great.
people in the waiting room.
Yes.
Getting
So
busy.
Shirley, and so we should knock off our cameras. I should knock off my camera, or is everybody going to be on? How's that working?
For me and Vivian, we will be off camera and on mute, but you guys can be on camera.
Yeah, I think I'll be off camera too, Danny doesn't.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
And will you guys be on the call for the whole time? Or?
Yes, we will be here to support you technically.
Great. Perfect.
Yes.
Should be good then.
Okay.
So we have a few minutes before we'll let people in.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I'll just admit all, then you can wait for like 3 seconds and start.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't need to, do I need to worry about letting people in or not letting people in? You're going to let everybody in at the start, but
yes, I'll just admit all at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if people join throughout the session, will you let them in as well? Or
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll let them in.
Okay. Well, you don't need to be on this then, Paula, then if you don't want to be, or you can if you
Danny,
want.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Here, supporting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I might just make a quick coffee here if we have a few minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it, Danny.
Okay.
I'll chat with Shirley and you go have a coffee.
No, I'll have it during the session. It won't take long.
Okay.
Good. So where are you, Vivian, then? Where is Vivian based? In Kenya as well?
Yes, we're actually in the same room. Maybe you can turn on your camera.
You're in the same room? Oh.
Yes.
Okay. This is the thing with Zoom meetings. You never know where anybody is, right? Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So what's the weather like in Kenya then? You're on mute.
Sorry.
No
the
problem.
weather is just fluctuating. Some days it's raining, some days it's very sunny. But we are used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And how is it there?
It's very sunny this week. I mean, which isn't normal for this time of year, but you know, it's been quite warm, which is nice. Yeah.
You're lucky.
We are lucky. We like the sunshine. We don't see it very often. So,
yeah, I understand. Enjoy the season while it lasts.
Exactly. So how many people do you think will join today, Shirley? And will there be quite a lot?
Yes. It's the last session for today. So I think they'll join, say 50 to 70 or more.
Okay.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Good. That would be good. And it's gone well so far this week? The other sessions?
Yes, it's gone so well. The attendance has been great.
Excellent.
Comparing to last year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
That's great. Good.
Okay. Pulling the blinds. Good to go now.
Yeah.
Have coffee, can't talk.
I have the coffee here just in case.
Exactly. Yep. So is this the final day, Shirley, of the event? Did you say?
No, it's tomorrow. We have one session tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the final session of the day. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
We have 17 people in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With 10 minutes to go though to start time, right?
Yeah.
10 minutes to go.
Okay. No problem. go. Right, I'm just going to go and get a drink.
Go for it, Paula.
So we have 2 minutes. You're on mute.
I said, great, a 2-minute warning.
Yes. So I think after you start, you can just ask the attendees not to click on the end button.
Oh, the attendees can end it then as well?
Gosh.
It's because it's a meeting.
Ah, okay.
Oh, so if
will they not click leave? And if they're, or is there, can they end it as well?
Yes.
I think only the host can end it, I think.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Phew.
Okay, great.
Sorry for the.
No.
Sorry for the.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I think we'd be in trouble if they could control that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I admit them now?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes. Have a great session.
Thank you. Thanks for organizing.
I'm going to hit my camera, Danny.
Go for it. Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening or good morning, wherever you are. I'm Danny O'Brien. I'm the Managing Director of SVG Ventures Thrive. I just see people entering the room at the moment, so I might just hold off for one moment before we begin. Okay, I think I'm going to start now. I think some people will join throughout the session, but just for anyone who missed the very start, my name is Danny O'Brien. I'm the Managing Director of SVG Ventures in Europe. I'm delighted here today to be here today to talk to you about our Accelerator Program and answer any questions you may have about it. I have a few slides that I'm going to share to give you some overview information about the program. And I'll just ask you to maybe keep yourselves on mute and ask the questions in the chat if that would be okay, if you have any questions throughout, because there's quite a lot of people on the call. I don't want to have too many voices speaking on top of each other, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to share my screen and go through a few slides, and it should take about 10 or so minutes. And then at the end, we'll have plenty of time for questions, obviously. So just bear with me. Okay, I'm assuming everyone can see my slide here at the moment. If anybody can't, somebody let me know. But in essence, to go over, who SVG Ventures and Thrive are, if we go on to the next slide, here we go. Sorry. There we go. So in essence, we are one of the most active ag-tech investors in the world, according to Crunchbase. We have about 60 or so investments to date in the agri-food tech space. We're sector focused on the area, so we don't invest in other areas. And our ag tech program, which is called Thrive, is consistently ranked one of the best programs in the world in the space, according to AgFunder and other publications. Besides being an ag tech investor and food tech investor, we also do a lot of work with some of the leading corporates around the world, and we're working with about 40 corporates who would be the leading names, such as Bayer, Driscoll's Berries, ICL, many of the leading names across the agri-food value chain around the world. Our startups themselves have gone on to create about $1 billion in values to date. We've been doing this for 10 years, and we're tracking about 5,000 founders in 100 countries. So although we're based in Silicon Valley and we have offices around the world, we are very much a global accelerator program, and we have founders from around the world as well. In fact, about 70% of our deal flow comes from outside the US. And last year, we made our first African investment in Food Locker out of Nigeria. So we're really impressed with that team, and we're looking forward to seeing more African teams apply to our accelerator program and pursue investment as well. So delighted that such a great crowd could join us today. to move on to the next slide, to tell you a bit about the Accelerator Program for anyone who's not sure about the details, we'll select about 10 companies, and we do this every year from March to June. So our next cohort, which will be our 8th cohort, will happen in March 2022. The cohort will run for about 3 months. We'll invest 100K in each team, and we typically take about 5% equity in the companies we invest in. Those companies will take part in the accelerator for about 3 months, as I mentioned. And at the end of that, we have a demo day where we do that in collaboration with Forbes Media at the Future of Food Summit we host with them every year. So our startups get a chance to pitch alongside some of the leading speakers in ag tech and food tech, and reach a live audience of about 1,000 to 2,000 typically on the day, with tens of millions across the Forbes platform. They get put on the homepage of Forbes. So it's a great opportunity to meet and have your pitch viewed by millions of people around the world. After the program, we'll invest in certain companies who come through that with up to 1 million in follow-on funding for the best teams as well. So there's an opportunity to raise more money throughout the program. In terms of our selection committee, we have a number of corporate relationships and strategic partners who help us select the companies. And one of the things that's unique about the Thrive program is the amount of corporates and growers and farmers we have in our network. And really, when startups come onto this program, they get a great opportunity to be introduced to those partners of ours who can, put together business development opportunities, pilot programs, licensed technologies. So really, we're selecting startups who are really going to add value to the overall network that we have at Thrive, and really springboard and accelerate their traction throughout our network. We select about 2% of our companies, so it is highly selective. We get somewhere between 600 to 800 applications each year. Last year, actually, the biggest region for applications was Africa, which accounted for 44% of applications. So we have a lot of interest from African startups, and hopefully we see the same again this year. And we want to see a lot more teams coming from Africa. Just to move on to the next slide. In terms of how the 3-month program works, or kind of to step back a bit of where we are at the moment. So applications are open for Thrive 8 at the moment. We're here in September. They'll close on November 5th. That's an important date. We'd urge you to get your application in, earlier, before that. We do evaluate them on a rolling basis. So the sooner you get it in, the sooner we'll see it. Obviously, typically, the last few days is the most popular time for getting applications in. And we don't have as much time to go through that. So the earlier you get it in, the better. Pitch day will happen in January, where we'll bring together some of our corporate partners and evaluate all our applications. We go through each company, we watch each pitch, look at each pitch deck, and then we narrow that down to about 20 or so companies. We have interviews with those, and then select our 10 finalists. And we onboard them in kind of February, March time in 2022. And then we'll work with them for 3 months and have the demo day in June 2022. So that's how the 3 months works. In terms of the companies we're looking for, obviously agri-food tech, as I mentioned, but there's a variety of technologies or kind of key categories that we're interested in particular. And it's everything from farm to fork as we think about it. So things like farm management systems, connecting farmers to suppliers, better farm inputs, right through to traceability, supply chain technologies or businesses. And then closer things to food tech, like alternative proteins, packaging systems. So there's a really a variety of categories we look for. And we look for a broad mix of companies across those categories as well. To give you an idea of the content that we have, it's structured as a business development accelerator. So we typically look for C to Series A startups. So these are companies who have a bit of traction in their home market already, have good feedback from their customers, and they're ready to looking to scale their technology to more customers. So we don't, teach entrepreneurs how to be entrepreneurs. We really teach them how to scale and give them the tools and the network to really do that. So I won't go through all of this, but you'll kind of see some of the key topics we focus on here. We bring in our corporate partners to show their perspective on what they're looking for, how they engage with startups as well. Obviously, some of the core fundamentals like Lean Canvas, startup law, common pitfalls to be aware of. We do some case study programs. We have many partners with in-kind benefits like Carta, AWS, etc. And then we do a lot of mentoring, networking, with our network of mentors and corporate partners as well. And then obviously focusing on the pitch, which is the important part. We've dedicated pitch coach who will do an individual session with each company and prepare them for our Forbes demo day in June. So that's kind of how the program looks. And again, we can answer questions on this if anybody has more questions in a few minutes. I'm just going to end it there. Actually, I thought I had one more slide, but I don't. This is a QR code. If anybody would like a link to the application page where you can find out a bit more about it. Also have the web address there as well. And then, you know, our general information here. I'd encourage you to follow us, join our newsletter to hear about upcoming events. We do a lot of events, probably one a month or so. So it's good to, you know, engage and follow us, learn a bit about, you know, Thrive and what we do. And this is my details down here as well. So I'm going to open it up to questions now. And hopefully, you know, if you could ask them in the chat, that'd be ideal, I think, because we've got about 60 people on the call. So to avoid anybody asking questions at once. So just give me 1 second to get back to the chat. Okay. Chat. So just 1 second.
It might be easier, Danny, would it, if people ask the questions? So there's a bit more dialogue. I've been busy here just admitting people every few seconds, and I'm conscious of the fact that a lot of people joined later, so would have missed most of your slides, I think some of them. So okay. It might be nice to have a bit of dialogue and just get people to kind of put their hand up and ask a question rather than you trying to read them out. What do you think? Okay,
go for it. Does anybody have a question? Maybe I'll go back to sharing the slides then, and if anybody wants to jump in with a question, just go for
it. We've got 11 people who have put some questions in the chat. So if any of you guys want to go ahead and just call out your question. Kojo, do you want to start? Everybody's shy. Right, do you want me to read out the question?
I wanted to ask, I saw, I think, innovative food ingredients as one of the criteria for possible applying for the Strive Accelerator Program. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, good question. So innovative food can mean a number of things. So you've probably read about alternative proteins, plant-based proteins that are very popular at the moment as people, you know, look for alternative sources of protein or change their meal choices because of ethics and things like that. So that definitely falls into that category, but also things like food ingredients. So certain biotech technologies or molecular biology that will, make food healthier, or, you know, have certain ingredients. There's a trend of food as medicine, which is quite popular at the moment, which is, altering food to keep the best.
Danny, you're on mute.
Sorry, I don't know how that happened.
Okay.
Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yep.
So I was saying there, food as medicine is a real trend at the moment of, you know, functional ingredients in foods that help fight against diseases. Things like COVID, for example, we've seen certain foods can perform better against COVID-19. So that's kind of spurred a whole trend of thinking about innovative food. But definitely alternative proteins, plant-based proteins fits in there as well. Anybody have another question?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Hello?
Hello, go for it. Maybe say your name as well.
My name is Timothy Hakina from Kenya.
Hi, Timothy.
Yeah, my question is about the session, the training, the 10-week training. Do you charge for it? And when is the next training starting?
So I'm just going to go back to the program here and the training. So we select the companies, we select the 10 companies and we invest 100K in those companies. So there is no charge for it, but you have to be chosen to get on the program. So it's highly selective, it's competitive to get on the program.
Okay, further to that, how do I make sure that I'm chosen? How can I?
By having the best pitch you can. So just to go back to this slide here, these are the categories we're looking for in terms of agri-food tech startups. So if you're an entrepreneur in this space, I would encourage you to actually, a great idea would be to look at our previous demo days. They're on YouTube, and you can have a look at the pitches that we saw of our graduates. Have a look at their pitches and learn, how do they present themselves? Look at their pitch decks. What are the aspects that they're promoting? Because they've gone through our Accelerator program, they've benefited from the program, and they can, you can learn a lot from them as well, I would say.
I've got a question.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hi there.
Guys, could I ask, if you're not speaking, if you could mute your go on mute, because we have a lot of background noise, please. Okay.
Jonathan Treacher, I've got a question, if you can hear me.
Hi, Jonathan, go for it.
My question is just around confidentiality. There's a very slim chance of being chosen, although obviously you make a good pitch, but you're basically disclosing your idea, all the rest of it. And I've been there before where, everybody's disclosed everything to a whole bunch of people, and their idea is no longer sort of proprietary. Is there any protection for any of that? I mean, do you sign confidentiality agreements or non-circumvent, something like that? Because otherwise you've just, dumped on Silicon Valley a great idea that may not get funded with your program, but somebody else runs with it.
Well, we don't publicize the applications to anybody else. So we keep them ourselves. We evaluate those companies, and we do sign NDAs with the companies who we invest in and who we choose. In terms of, your point around sharing ideas, there's no shortage of ideas in Silicon Valley or anywhere else. There's a shortage of well-executed solutions, I would say.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're looking for. So I think that there's an element, this is something that comes up all the time in the startup space.
How was the year, Mercy? And how would you?
Yeah, sorry.
Just going to finish there, just 1 second. You have to kind of put yourself out there a little bit, to share a little bit of what you're doing, because otherwise you're not going to get people to buy into you. And I think, key with that is choosing well-respected partners or programs to apply for. I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years. We have a great reputation out there, consistently ranked a great program. So there are some sharks, I would say, out there who can take advantage of people. We're not in the business of doing that. We rely on our reputation quite a bit. So that's what I'd say. Hopefully that answers your question.
No, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Danny. Thanks.
Not at all.
We managed to sell 9,000 pounds.
Does somebody else have a question? And just a reminder, if you're not speaking, to put yourself on mute, if that's okay.
Yes, sir. I am home.
Hi there.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Nick, my son from Nairobi, Kenya. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hi, Nick, go for it.
Yeah, my hand has been up, but you can't see it. I don't know why. Well, I
can't see the hands, unfortunately, on the way I'm sharing the screen. So just jump in.
It's okay. I can go ahead. I wanted to know. I'm already on an accelerator program for investor readiness, and this one I'm finishing in November this year. And if I choose to apply to Thrive, do I have to again start afresh, or we can start at some level for those who already have gone through the training?
So it's a good question. So we have a number of companies who come onto our program who've been on different programs before. I think you can learn a lot from various programs. Each one is different. And the stuff you've learned at the moment, I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm sure you've learned a lot from that. We tend to bring something different. We've had startups in the past who participated in various accelerator programs, and they've learned a lot on this program as well. So I think you can learn something, you can take something away from each program, but our program is set. We don't, we tailor it to each company and tailor mentoring to each company. But there's a core curriculum that we run each company through, and that is set, and that's proven to work over 10 years. So we update it every year based on learnings, but we don't drastically change it per company because it's seen to work. I would also say it's specifically tailored for seed to Series A companies who need certain things at that stage, and that's what it's designed for. I'm not sure the program you've gone through at the moment, if it's a seed program or a pre-seed program, you might have learned different things, if that makes sense. So we're very focused on helping you accelerate traction, build sales, open up new partnerships. That's what we're focused on. And if you think, you know everything in that sector, well then maybe it's not for you. But if you think you could use some help there, well then maybe it's a good program as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I see some people raising hands. Is it Nick raised a hand there?
Yeah, I've just spoken already. It's Nico.
Okay.
That was
okay.
Nico just
spoke,
yeah.
Because I get pop-ups here. I can't actually see who has their hands raised. So again, if anybody else has a question, just jump in.
Yeah, I've got a question. My name is Chris. I'm calling you from Zambia, from Greenfluent Foundation.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. Do you invest in social enterprises? We are a social enterprise that are looking to provide training facilities as well as target youth and women in different districts, particularly in peri-urban and rural areas, with climate smart fertilizer. We're being hit hard, especially in the southern half of the region, with climate change. Do you venture into such projects, or would you prefer to?
It depends on the aspect of the company. Typically, as an investor, we're looking for companies who can make a return. Now, making a return doesn't mean you don't do social good as well. So a lot of our companies, in fact, the overwhelming majority of them, are doing things that help farmers do things more sustainably, more efficiently, using less resources, and creating common good, or empowering smallholder farmers, for example. We've had a lot of companies who do that. So I think you need to be a for-profit enterprise, but we definitely look to invest in companies who are doing good as well, who are matching, ESG investing frameworks as well. So if it's a social enterprise that's a not-for-profit, that wouldn't be a fit for us. If you're a for-profit that's also doing social good, well then that could be, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, okay. Then it would have to be the other enterprise. Okay, that's fine. I'll contact you privately on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not at all.
Okay, Danny, I just see a question in from Diane de Bodrop. My pronunciation is going to be rubbish here, but Diane, if you want to go ahead and call out your question to Danny.
Sure, thank you. My question was about the sourcing of the company. How do you source the startups that apply, and do you collaborate with other partners or local communities to find them? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks very much. So things like this now at the moment, in terms of meeting and spending time with startups, is very important. We do a number of events throughout the year, which helps drive interest in our program. For example, in about an hour and a half, we'll have an event called the Bayer Sustainability Challenge. It's something we're doing with Bayer. And that was essentially a program to look for startups around the world who were helping solve sustainability challenge. There was 3 challenges. One was empowering smallholder farmers. One was reducing dependency on water. The other one was reducing greenhouse gases. So we look for startups around the world who were doing those things. And we have an event in a while, which will be also shown at AGRF conference as well. So initiatives like that to find best startups around the world. So we spend a lot of time reaching out to startups, to local partners as well. We did an African challenge earlier this year. We had the finals in February, where we partnered with local partners like Mercy Corps, other investors, and the US State Department, and local partners in different parts of Africa to get the word out to African entrepreneurs. And that was a great initiative to find some of the best African entrepreneurs. We had about 280 or so applications, I think. And as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, not sure if everyone heard it, but we made our first African investment in Food Locker out of Nigeria. So we spend a lot of time kind of being proactive, putting ourselves out there, doing events, speaking at conferences like this to meet as many startups as we can. And that pays dividends at the end in terms of the applications we get in. And we've always had great companies, and those companies have gone on to do great things as well. So it works.
Okay, we need to go on mute, guys, whoever's not speaking. Danny, another question in from Elabio, I think it's called. Elabio, if you want to call out your question to Danny.
Okay.
Struggling to hear you. I think you might be there now. Go ahead. I'm finding it hard. Paula, maybe if the question is in the chat, if you want to read it out.
Yeah.
No. So now my question is, I got set up and I just want to ask a question this way.
Okay.
Okay.
Danny,
I can't hear you. I can't hear you, unfortunately. I think Paula's going to read out the question.
All right. His question was, how do farms benefit from your company?
How do farms benefit from the company?
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time working with farmers groups around the world. This can be, literally around the world. We tend to work with large organizations who help represent farmers. And what we do is spend time working with their farmers to understand what their needs and challenges are, specifically around doing things more efficiently, more sustainably, what challenges they're facing on the ground, on the farm. And then we can help source startups who can solve those challenges. And when we put together various research reports on those kind of gaps, if you like, that farmers are facing, and then we'll help scout companies who can solve those problems. Now, those companies mightn't necessarily have gone through our Accelerator program. They could be companies we know from the ecosystem. We spend a lot of time, building our database of startups. So we might have a few startups in a specific area that can help solve this challenge that certain farmers are facing, and we'll make introductions there. So farmers are really important to us in terms of, they're the end user of a lot of this technology. So we need to know what their challenges are, what their life is like before we just put these technology startups on them, if that makes sense. So we spend a lot of time working, to help find that out. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, okay, for instance, now you have invested, and are you expecting some capital time from the investment, or like a plan to anything? And you offer?
I think the audio is probably too bad there, Danny, right?
Yeah, I'm struggling if you want to put your follow-up question in the chat, maybe, and maybe Paula can read it out. Sorry, just struggling to hear you. Thank you.
Yeah. Question in from Chris Jansen. Would EdTech with a focus on the agriculture sector still fit within the criteria?
Good question. I'd say it's probably a loose fit. It depends on the exact business. I can't answer for the exact business. We're seeing a lot of companies around connecting farmers, and part of that can be education. So education on what seeds to use, what practices work, and quite often that can be overlaid with satellite data or drones that can kind of help inform you of, you should be growing this crop at this time in this region, or this is a good alternative. So, if it was something related to around that, then that could be definitely considered. If it's more of a pure EdTech platform that happens to be, have a few programs for farming, then probably not, I would say. So if you think a good rule of thumb, I would say is this providing, core value to farmers or people working in the agri-food sector day to day? And is that the core focus of your business? Then there's a good chance it would be considered. But if it's too peripheral, then probably not. Hopefully that answers your question, but each case is different,
Okay, there's an awful lot of people commenting that they joined late, they missed the presentation, and they would like to see it again, Danny.
Okay.
I think it might be an idea, and a lot of people asking how they can apply to the accelerator. I think it might be a good idea just to walk through the slides again. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's go back to the start.
Okay.
We've plenty of time. So again, yeah, think of any questions you have for the end of this. We'll only take a few minutes to go through this. But I'm going to start up just a quick introduction of who SVG Ventures Thrive are. We're a global innovation and investment platform. We're one of the most active ag tech investors in the space, award-winning program by AgFunder and other publications in the space. We invest in agri-food tech only. We don't invest in other technologies. This is our core area of expertise. We've been doing this for about 10 years now. We're based in Silicon Valley, and I should have mentioned, I don't think I mentioned it the last time, we've just opened a platform and office in Canada. I'm based in Europe. I'm the managing director of Thrive EMEA. We will be opening a program in Europe, and in time, in the next 18 months, hopefully we'll have something more substantial in Africa as well. But besides just investing in startups in this space, we also work with a lot of corporates and farming networks in the agri-food sector and bring them together. We're working with about 40 corporate clients, and these are some of the biggest corporations in the world focused on agri-food tech. In terms of our accelerator program, just to kind of run through it quickly, we select 10 companies per cohort. Our cohorts run from March to June every year. We're now going into our 8th cohort, and the cohorts last for 3 months. We invest 100K in each company who comes through, and we take around 5% equity for each of those companies. And we have about $1 million worth of follow-on funding for companies who are at a good level, who we're comfortable investing in at the end of the program. It's consistently ranked one of the best agri-food accelerator programs. Just to say, actually, again, I don't think I covered this the last time, it's a hybrid program. So parts of it are done in Silicon Valley, and parts of it are done virtually as well, which has worked out really well. Over the last 2 years for COVID, we've done pure virtual, but in normal years, we'd have the companies join for a couple of weeks here and there to benefit from, working with the other companies, meeting our partners, etc. At the end of the program, we have a demo day, and we do that in partnership with Forbes. We've been running the Forbes AgTech Summit with them for about, I think it's 7 or 8 years now. And at that summit with about 2,000 people, we'll put our startups on stage with them. The leading kind of names in agri-food tend to be there, very senior level management in the space. We're looking to meet the top 10 companies that we've selected this year. It's also shown on a virtual platform to tens of millions of people on the Forbes media page. So we have a competitive selection process. We select about 2% of the companies. We do get hundreds of applications each year, but if you're not in, you can't win. So we highly encourage you to apply if you think you're a fit. In terms of the kind of timeline, so it's a 3-month program. Applications are open at the moment. They'll close on November 5th. So I'd really encourage you to start working on your applications now and get them in as soon as you can, because we do review them on a rolling basis. We'll select companies around January time, and then we'll onboard the top 10 winners, or the top 10 companies we've selected to go onto the program in around the start of March. Seed Camp is our kind of 2-week intensive program in Silicon Valley. We bring all of our startups, no matter where they are in the world, to this program. It's a great chance to meet us, meet the rest of the companies, meet some of our corporate partners. And it's a kind of heavy with workshops and dinners and things like that. Excuse me. And then we'll work with the companies for 3 months on the program, and we'll have our demo day at the end of or mid-June typically, which I mentioned with Forbes. In terms of the startup categories that we look for, it's everything from farm to fork along the agri-food tech value chain. So everything from farm inputs, management of the farm, IoT, sensors, software solutions, right through to supply chain technologies, traceability, connecting farms to growers, connecting the consumers back to farms as well. Innovative food, packaging, things like that, and biotech, of course, is a big area as well. So there's a real mix of technologies in there, and we have a real broad portfolio to date, but they're broadly the categories that we look for. In terms of the actual program itself, and some of the topics that we cover, I won't go through all this because there's quite a lot, But in general, we bring in our corporate partners for workshops. We do a lot of kind of preparing you to raise your next investment round. So things like pitch coaching, preparing a pitch deck, and preparing your business and business model for growth. So how can you build for scale? Do you need to tweak the business model? Some of the fundamentals like startup law, protecting IP, business model canvas, lean canvas, things like that. There's a lot of networking and introductions we make throughout our Thrive network. And then getting you prepared for the pitch day with Forbes at the end of the program as well, which is a big focus. So hopefully that gives you another good introduction. Sorry if anybody's on the call who's seen that already, but I think a good few of you missed it. So hopefully that clears up, some general points about the program. In terms of how to apply, the website is here. It's a shortened link. You can type that in, or if you have a QR enabled camera, you can scan this QR code and that'll take you directly to that page as well. And you can fill out the application form there. You can also find out more information about the program there. If you have any more questions about it, you can ask them now, or you can email us after the session to this email address here as well. I'd encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter, join our newsletter to find out about our events and upcoming deadlines. We also do regional challenges, which you may qualify for as well. So good to stay abreast of all that. And just to, this is me here. You can follow me on Twitter if you like, or connect with me through to this email address as well. So that's kind of a good overview. Go ahead.
I think that might be background noise, Danny.
Okay, no worries.
Thanks for that. I think that that helped. A lot of people have also been asking if the deck will be available for viewing afterwards, and it will be available on the AGRF platform, Dealer platform, after the event for anybody who would like to view that in more detail. What else? There's a question here from James asking, how do startups engage you? Do we have to wait until you announce the next Africa Challenge, or do you have a go-to program? Well, the go-to program, James, is the Accelerator, which Danny has just spoken about. So applications are now open for that and will be until November the 5th. So you can go ahead and visit our website and apply for the Accelerator program.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
My name is Rose. I'm with Mtela. I just wanted to hear a bit more on the exact, especially the agribusiness, the sector that you're looking at. You mentioned something about companies that are directly linked to farmers that do. Could you speak more about that?
So these are you're asking about the startup categories we're interested in, which is this
Yes.
slide here. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So we invest in agri-food tech. So what is that? Essentially, it's anything from farm to fork. That's what we say. So anything that goes into the agri-food value chain. So things like, it could be something like a new fertilizer solution that helps farmers. It could be an IoT sensor technology that helps farmers. It could be anything that helps farmers, for example, on the farm that's technology enabled, that is scalable and you can build a big business out of. But it can also be things like supply chain. So connecting farm outputs, that things that are leaving the farm, whether that's livestock, whether it's meat technologies, whether it's crop technologies, preserving post-harvest losses. It can be things like that, or accelerating the supply chain, or shortening the supply chain to get the food to the consumers quicker, or to open up new markets as well, to empower farmers to have more pricing power. And then if you like, beyond supply chain, it can be things closer to the consumer, things like traceability solutions. Blockchain is a real trend at the moment to evaluate where your food came from. Was it ethically sourced? Did the farmer get a fair price? Things like this. And then also innovative packaging or freshness solutions to keep food lasting longer, reducing waste, things like innovative food as well, alternative proteins, plant-based proteins, I mentioned them earlier, which aren't grown on a farm, might be grown in a lab or an alternative facility, but at the end of the day are still going to the consumer. So there's a kind of there's a lot in there, and to be honest, agri-food is seen as a niche, but actually there's so many sub-industries here, if that makes sense. Livestock and animal health is actually a big category at the moment as well. So things that can help reduce emissions with livestock, which contributes to a lot of greenhouse emissions, keeping animals lasting more healthy, improving kind of the ethics or kind of conditions that animals are kept in is a big topic as well. So there's a lot of trends here that make agri-food tech a really interesting space, and I'm sure most people on this call are aware of that and are working on something in relation to one of these sectors. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what we're looking for. But if you have any follow-up questions, let me know.
Okay, thanks.
I've got a question. Oh.
Sure.
What I wanted to know, do you have to be the inventor, or you can actually apply using technologies being applied in other countries?
Well, we look for companies. So we literally look for companies, and they have a core technology. So typically, whether they invented it themselves, like they built it themselves, or they might have licensed certain technology, or they might have bought the license for a technology, or it might have come out of research out of a third level institution, for example. So what we're looking for is defensibility. So we need to have a good idea and something that you're doing differently that nobody else is doing, which means you can build a big business from that. So if it doesn't necessarily matter if you're the inventor or not, but as long as you have something, assuming it was wasn't stolen or taken unethically, we're looking for people who have something, a core competency that they can leverage over the coming years. Does that make sense?
Okay, no, it does make sense. But just as a follow-up, if let's say you're doing something else and you want to expand into a new area, let's say you are doing cropping and you want to also add livestock, what is the position of Thrive on that?
That's absolutely fine. I mean, we have, if you look at, a lot of the biggest business in agriculture, they have many different divisions, right? They might have a seed business and a fertilizer business, and they might even have a livestock business, within that with thousands of people. So, that's fine, but you need to have a viable path of getting there. So I would say, and typically, our advice to companies is focus on what you're really good at. Don't try to be all things to all men. Actually focus on what you're really good at and be the best you can be in that. If you're in cropping, for example, crops is a huge business. It's a $100 billion business, every year. So if you're good enough, you can take a large portion of that, and you don't need to go into livestock. You can build a good business out of that. So that's what I'd say is don't switch too soon, unless there's an opportunity there that you feel that you can't avoid that. For whatever reason, the conditions are there for you to expand or take on a new opportunity or a new client and go that way. But I always say to startups is to focus early, and focus is, will pay dividends over time.
Can I jump in there, Danny, real quick? Can you put up the last slide so that people can have on their screen the contact information? A few people asking about that.
Yeah.
There's a question here from Claire Baker. Claire is asking, what is the 5% equity based on? Is that adjusted if it doesn't fit the company value?
Typically,
like, oh yeah.
Sorry, is there more of that?
A little bit more. It seems like you're seeking companies with a certain value, 2 million, example, 2 million.
Yep, so good question. The 5% is pretty set, I'd say. There have been times we've changed it up or down, depending on the company. The only reason it would change is if a company is really early or really late in terms of they'd like to take part in our program, they could benefit a lot from it, but they've already raised money at maybe a larger valuation. We might look at something there, but typically it's pretty set. I would take it that it's pretty set, only in extreme cases. And yes, that does in essence define the kind of value of companies that we look for, but it's done on a convertible note basis. So there is some wriggle room if that makes sense, of if you're kind of too early or too late, if you haven't raised institutional money. I won't get into the specifics around it, but there's some wiggle room there in terms of if you raise money at a certain valuation in the future, it can be flexible. So that's typically how it works. And yeah, hopefully that clears up your question.
Great. Still lots of people joining, so I'm sure a lot of people, more questions will be coming in. One here from Peter. In Uganda, most of the agribusiness is still at SME scale. Would I be able to participate in the Accelerator program?
So Peter, what I'd say is we're looking for companies who can really scale. So if you're in Uganda, we're looking for companies who can scale, Pan Africa, for example, and build a substantial business out of that. I would say, looking at our deal flow from Africa in general, I think we do have a lot of SME scale companies, those who aren't really on the trajectory yet, but we're seeing more and more each year, and I think it's getting more and more competitive. So I'd say only you can judge, whether you're a fit or not. But I'd say, are you building, a highly scalable business that is technology enabled or has some sort of IP that allows you to do things that other people can't do and really scale? We do get applications from some small companies who are doing, incremental things like doing kind of farm solutions where you're going farm to farm to farm, and it can be slower to scale. You can still build a strong business out of that over a number of years, but we're looking for, the way venture capital is set up, you're looking for the best companies who can scale really quickly, and that's what we're in the business of, if that makes sense. There's other programs as well for smaller companies that do targeted mentoring for SMEs as well. So I can't answer if you'd be a fit or not, based on what you said, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what we're looking for.
Need a break for a glass of water there, Danny. In the hot seat.
That's all right. Keep them coming.
Doing a great job. Lots of comments here from people saying great presentation. Thank you. So yeah, good job, Danny. There's one in here from Jacob saying, I am into seed redistribution using a mobile platform. Do I stand a chance of funding for expansion?
I mean, it definitely sounds like you're in the right space. It depends on how good the company is. Seed distribution it's a challenge in a lot of markets in Africa. There can be fraud, there can be price gouging sometimes. So more secure ways of getting the right seeds to the people who pay for them is definitely a challenge, and it's something that you can build a big business out of. If it's mobile enabled, that's hitting a good trend, I would say, in terms of technology based. Smartphone or mobile phone usage in Africa is growing really quickly and is already pretty substantial. So a lot of commerce, as many people know, is done via M-Pesa and other programs, mobile-based commerce. So I'd say you're in a good space by the sounds of it. It sounds like your business definitely qualifies. The question is, are you good enough? Because there's other people working in this space as well, and what are you doing that's better than them? So, try to think about it from our point of view, getting hundreds of applications. What makes you the best, and whether that's the team, whether it's the technology that you've built, whether it's your traction already, the amount of customers you have, or the quality of customers you have, what are you doing differently that makes you a good candidate? But I'd say fundamentally, you would fit into the, agri-tech space.
Excellent. Another one in here, Danny, from Andrew, asking, what is the minimal revenue a startup needs to generate to be considered by you?
Good question, Andrew. I'd say there isn't a minimum revenue that we have. We look for seed to Series A companies, and the definitions of these are quite fluid and can change from time to time. So what we're looking for really is companies who have shown a bit of traction in their home market. So they have a couple of customers, the amount of revenue isn't as important, but what have they built that shows that this is about to take off? And that, traction can come across in various forms. It can be revenue, and revenue is the best form of traction, because people are parting with their own cash for something that you have of value, and that's a huge statement of intent. So sales are the number one form of traction, I'd say. Other things like awards, like IP patents are great as well. If you've been working with the university and have some trademarks, or have a licensing deal, for example, and maybe that hasn't been executed on just yet, but you have signed contracts with that. You've signed a pilot agreement with a large corporate or a large farming network, for example, that might have produced any revenue yet, but that could be a form of traction. So things like that, I would say, think outside the box. It's not just, revenue. And when we look at a variety of factors when we're evaluating companies, and we don't just, sort the companies with X amount of revenue and forget them. We look at each company individually on its own merits. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Andrew.
good. I thought while we're here, Danny, we could get a plug in for the Europe Challenge.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Danny and I have been working on a Europe Challenge event, looking for startups. We have recently announced our 10 finalists, and our event is on October 7th. That would be a really good event for everybody to tune into, to get an idea of how our programs are run and get a feel for the type of startups who make it to the final 10 from, I think, over 300 startups that applied. So we will put the, I'll put the, actually, if you go on our website and click on Europe Challenge, you will see information about it, maybe register to attend and get a feel for how the events are run. And as I said, the type of startups that we're looking for. Yeah, so hope you'll all enjoy that.
Absolutely. And can I also thank Paula here, who didn't get an introduction, but Paula is our program manager of international business. Me and Paula work very closely together on a day-to-day basis, and she's been very helpful and posing the questions to me because I can't see them here. So thanks very much, Paula.
No worries. Somebody
is there
just
more
asked,
questions coming in? Go ahead.
Somebody just asked, can we benefit from this in Zambia? Yes, you can. We're a global organization, so we accept applications in from all over the world. So Zambia, absolutely, get your application in. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we've invested in 10 to 12 countries, I think it is, to date. Obviously, the program is hosted in Silicon Valley, but we've invested in Latin America, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, of course. So it's and the US, of course. So it really is we don't care where you're from as long as you're good enough. So absolutely would like to see more Zambian companies take part.
And I think, Danny, you mentioned the Buyer, the event that we're having with Buyer, that's on today. And that would be a really good event for everybody to tune into as well. There's people still joining the waiting room here. It's been nonstop. So I'm just keep clicking on admit. So great to see so many people tuning in today.
That's great. For any of the new people joining, if you have any questions, we've run through a few slides a couple of times now, and people are coming and going. So if people have questions, pose them in the chat. Paula can ask them, or feel free to just ask us directly as well if you have any questions about our program.
I'm just popping somebody asked for an email address, just popping my email address in the chat. So if anybody does have any questions, just ping me an email.
We also have our email, a general Thrive email on the screen here as well, thrive@svgventures.com. If anybody misses Paula's message, so you can see that. And again, follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter as well to find out what we're doing. I feel like I'm promoting us here nonstop, but it's good to keep an eye on what's going on. We'll also have an upcoming event which is yet to be announced, but we'll have an African focus as well on digital solutions for farmers in Africa, which will be hopefully in October, and hopefully we can announce that in the next week or so. So it'd be great if some of you could join that.
Mm-hmm. Clem, do you want to read out your question? Do you want to ask Danny your question? I just saw a note from you saying, Danny, kindly address my request. So if you want to go ahead and ask Danny your question. Clem?
Hello, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I've raised my hand, so I was expecting to allow me. So my question is that if just agribusiness company that provide input for farmers, just with a little technology like software, website, and mobile, not deep technology, just providing input for farmers and buying the farm product from farmers and supply to the buyers, can you take that such a company into your accelerator? Not so very deep company.
Just to clarify, you're saying a company who provides farm inputs to farmers, but isn't necessarily mobile based or digital based. Is that correct? It's a bit more, just literally, as a kind of supplier relationship. Would that be right?
Yes. That does not involve deep technology, as you have said before. Not deep, just using a website and mobile to do everything.
Yeah, so I'd say it depends on how you do it or what you're doing. So, when we say technology, it doesn't necessarily always mean deep technology. And clearly we do invest in biotechnology, alternative proteins, things that are very technology focused or kind of biotech or science focused. But it depends on what you're doing. So if it's digitally enabled or mobile enabled, what can you do to build a moat or to defend against competition? Because in a lot of those, farm input supplier business, if you look at the margins, typically they aren't huge. So what can you do that will give you a greater share of those margins? And typically for a lot of entrepreneurs, technology helps produce better margins, because you're eliminating certain processes, you're opening up new markets, you're building to a certain scale, which allows you to do things more efficiently, and that allows you to do more, essentially to do things more efficiently and create bigger margins. So I would say if you're kind of on the track to do that, then possibly. But if you're going the more traditional route, well, then it probably wouldn't be a fit for our program. But again, there's nothing wrong with that as well. And successful companies take various forms as well. I mean, there's a lot of companies who've been built like that and build very successful companies over time. It might take a little bit longer if you don't, get investors. But then again, there's, founders hold on to more equity as well. So there's pros and cons to going through a program like this or taking investment from investors. So hopefully that answers your question. I think we've got about 5 minutes left or so before the end of the session. So maybe a last chance to get your questions in. Maybe just speak if you want, or put them in the chat, and Paula might see them as well.
Yeah, Martin, do you want to go ahead and ask your question? Martin Paulson.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. It was just a quick one, just to know a bit more about the amounts you contribute to companies, what the scale of the program is, and what else did I say in the chat? I've forgotten now, but the question's in the chat.
Okay, so I see it. It'd be good if you can summarize how much investment is available in what ticket sizes and with what kind of associated support services.
Okay, so you might have missed the presentation, but we covered a few of this in the slides. I'll just run it through it quickly. So typically we invest 100K in each company who comes through our program. We take about 5% equity, and then we have follow-on funding of 1 million to go into those companies. And that kind of aligns with our perspective as a seed to Series A investor. Now we do have co-investment partners, one of whom is Spruce Capital, who are a $150 million fund. And, we invest alongside them in deals, for example, and other well-known investors who might invest at a Series A and beyond. So what I would say is, although this is kind of our sweet spot for investing, we can bring in a lot more capital through our investment network as well. So I don't want to say the possibilities are endless, but there's a lot of follow-on capital available from various funds that we're associated with. I think you asked about, the general kind of look of the program as well. If I go on to the next slide, applications are open at the moment. They close in November 5th. We'll select the companies at the start of next year in 2020, and then it'll run for 3 months from March until June. Seed Camp is an intensive 2-week trip to Silicon Valley, where our home office is, and that's kind of intensive with mentoring, with workshops, meeting the rest of the cohort, etc., meeting our corporate network, and then we work with them for 3 months and have a demo day, which is hosted alongside Forbes with the Forbes Future of Food summit that we've been doing every year with them since 2014. So it's a great platform to present your business to at the culmination of the program. I might just leave up this slide here, which kind of covers some of the key topics that we covered during that 3-month program. So it's really kind of some of the startup fundamentals, but very much focused on commercial outcomes from, helping you scale, helping you leverage our network of 40 corporates or more, our farming networks, opening doors for you, making introductions, and having you in a position to take advantage of those introductions as well. So hopefully that makes sense. Another core focus is getting you ready to raise a round at the end.
Danny, you're on mute.
I don't know why that happens. Sometimes it happens. I go on mute, but there we go.
Okay. All good.
We are coming to the end. We've got 3 minutes left. I might just stop sharing my screen for the moment. And we can share that presentation afterwards, I believe, by the platform. Any last minute questions?
Could I?
Hi. My name is Timothy.
Timothy,
a last minute question, yeah? What happens on pitch day?
So on pitch day, all of our companies will do a 5-minute pitch in front of the audience at our summit with Forbes. So there's typically about 1,500 to 2,000 people in the audience. Founders get a chance to pitch their company there, take questions from our judges, and then typically have a lot of investor conversations afterwards. Get a lot of investors attending the event. We'll also announce a winner who will win follow-on funding as well at the event. So that's typically what happens. Paula, were you going to ask a question there from somebody else?
I was just going to be cheeky and ask if everybody could put their cameras on so I could take a photograph for social media. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember what's the command for print screen on a Mac, guys? Is it command, what is it, 3 or something?
It's up command 4, I think it is, something like that. I'll take one here as well. Thanks for people. Thanks for putting on your cameras, guys. While we're doing that, any last minute questions before we got 1 minute left here? If anybody wants to jump in, one more.
Great.
Since the Silicon Valley, what is the typical valuation of a company running through your program in the end?
It really varies, to be honest. So we invest on a convertible loan note basis. So those valuations can shift and change. Typically it's kind of in the 2 to 5 million valuation range, I would say typically, but it can, we've had bigger and we've had smaller, so it can change. But if you look at, you can look at our portfolio on our website as well and see what they've gone on to do as well in terms of how much follow-on money they've raised. I think companies like Neuritas and Magro would be good examples. For example, Trace Genomics as well. So a couple of others there you can check out on our website to get a sense of what they've gone on to do after our program. We're just out of time, guys. So thank you very much for dialing in. We got through a good amount of questions. We mightn't have answered them all, but you can follow up over email. We'll hopefully share the slides and hopefully to see many applications as well. So thanks very much for joining. Thanks, Paula, for helping with the questions, and best of luck with your applications.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you all. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.